Hello, good evening, everyone. From Athens, from the Institute of Philosophy and Technology, we are very happy today to celebrate the World Philosophy Day with a talk on a topic that actually marks the intersection between philosophy and technology in our institute. Today, the talk is about the metaphysics of memes, presented by Dr. Prashant Kumar, who is an assistant professor at the Department of Philosophy at Delhi University. He specialized in ontology, meta-ontology, and metalogic. His research actually interests in exploring various ontological implications in emerging technologies, including metaverse, virtual reality, and augmented reality. We had the opportunity to have some very engaging discussions and thought-provoking conversations with Prasant during the World Congress of Philosophy in Rome, just in August in 2024. We exchanged some very interesting views, and we decided that this talk would be very interesting to be communicated. I'm really thankful to Prasant for presenting this topic to us, and we are looking all very much forward to your talk. So the stage is yours, and welcome again, everyone, to our institute and this talk.
Thank you so much, Professor Stamatelos, for such a generous introduction. And thank you so much for considering me as a valuable resource person at your IPT talks. So just give me a second, I'll start sharing my screen and then we can start discussing. So I think the PowerPoint you can see. Is it visible, Professor? So I can start then.
Yes, it's perfect. Yes, it looks fine.
All right. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and sparing some valuable time to discuss the metaphysics of memes. Um, uh, I would like to start this particular discussion with a journey, the journey that I had in order to investigate the metaphysics of memes. And this starts with a very unfortunate incident that happened in Alwar, Rajasthan, one of the state in India. That unfortunate incident involves a person being killed, or let's say that lynched by mob, because he was accused that he was carrying beef. And the moment it happened, in a no time, like n numbers of people gathered together and killed that person. And after that, in India, most of the people started discussing about food terrorism. Like, can a particular kind of food kill a person? And so the other academicians started talking of the philosophy of food. And that's how the conversation started going on. And non-academician people were more interested on religious aspects, what a person should eat or what a person should not eat, whether it is accepted in Hinduism or whether it is not accepted in Hinduism. And that also turns around the entire phenomena in that particular state. While people were more interested in discussing all those things, my attention was caught by people gathering with no time. What exactly happened in that moment that almost all the people just gather at one place and they started lynching one person, a one very old Muslim person there. And I was more worried, how can something of this sort can ever happen? And when I started analyzing and started researching on things, I think I figured it out by analyzing what exactly happened 1 year before. Almost at that moment, 10 million memes were spread in that particular region. And 10 million memes were all about against a particular religion, against particular behaviors of people in a particular religion, and what they eat, how they behave in a certain way. And these memes also include in favor of a certain particular reason. So somehow it seems to me that these memes had generated a particular kind of thought which got converted into belief, and there was a one moment when this burst out, gathering together and kill a person. So that's how this particular discussion seems important to me. How meme has somehow influence and numbers of people to gather together and kill a person. The another aspect that after just this incident, when there was an election in UK and Uganda, the statistics shows that almost 1,027 million memes were shared in order to propagate one's political ideology, propagating their promises, creating an image of a particular leader, and also assassinating the characters of other person, other leaders of the other party. And the one who share more memes in favor of one political party win the election. So in another way, the meme has the capacity to influence a large number of people to behave in a certain manner. And this the same phenomena can be seen even in India. If you see since the advent of memes in digital world, the political parties in India who are sharing more memes against any kind of political party, they are winning most of the election. And why I am starting with a political example, because if you get control of a political power in any nation, you have all the rights to change or to uh, uh, mend a particular socio-political, economical, environmental, and digital environment around you. You have resources and you bend rules in favor of someone or the other. So that's the kind of importance memes plays in current reality, in current time, and which is also has been playing a sincere role since at least 2 decades. And if you start focusing on these ground with such an introduction, even the philosophers are not spared by the wrath of such memers. And for that example, just look at this slide. Even the Nietzsche was not spared by these memes. Despite all the philosophical engagement in metaphysical and ethical domain, yet he has to face this thing. And even the father of philosopher, father of philosophy, Socrates was not even spared. In such a zone, when philosophers, politicians, and all those people were not spared by the memers, what we can say about us and a normal people who has nothing to do, who has nothing to do in terms of engaging with memes philosophically. And also think about the kind of environment we have right now in the world of digital in the world of digital engagements and digital advent. We all share memes. At least when you get up in the morning, and you will find that your inbox has so many memes, and the first thing that you seem to respond with all those memes, it comes down to one particular emoticon, and that is this. And no doubt this particular meme has become the highest shared emoticon in the last decade. And this also tells a lot about what digital meme is all about. Unless and until it does not have a content of laughter, we cannot call it a digital meme. So from the beginning, from the introduction, when I started with political example to this particular laughter, we can see that meme has been, the concept of meme has been changed from one aspect to another. And then we are going to see how does it happen. The another thing, moving to the main, this particular meme that you see in your screen has a objectionable content. But if you see that this comes under top 10 memes shared in digital world. From one perspective, it is quite misogynistic, but on the other aspect, it serves the purpose. Can an objectionable picture with certain content be viral? Yes. But can a bad idea and ugly idea be viral? No. This significantly tells the distinction between meme and idea. But I introduced this particular slide for another reason. When memes were circulated, and we have this understanding that it can influence a large number of people, most of the theorists were interested in memes as it has been presented first by Richard Dawkins as, let's say that, as a something that people imitate and that has a close connection with culture. So how we are going to research, how we are going to reinvestigate how culture changes or has exchanges with another culture. So if you see the early understanding of meme researchers was more focused on how we can figure it out, how we can figure it out, the power of memes, how we understand each other in a particular culture, and how if one person moved to another culture, what kind of problem they have to face. So the early researchers in memes, they were more focused on how meme can help us in order to understand one culture. And here, if you find that there's one cognitive scientist and philosopher, Susan Blackmore, who wrote a paper. The title of the paper is "The Power of Meme," in order to just explain how culture can be understood in terms of meme. And even in this particular paper, she was much more focused on imitation, and because she believes that most of the humans imitate rather than just thinking, or rather than critically analyzing all the time, we can also understand that why a particular kind of behavior becomes quite prominent and quite significant in one kind of culture. Even within that domain, there were certain other thinkers like Lee Allen Dugattain, Robert Boyd, and Peter J. Richardson, Henry Plotting. They were also at the same time trying to show that imitation is not quintessential just to humans, but even animals do that. Even memes just oversimplifies the cultural exchanges or the cultural changes. Similarly, many people do more than just imitate. So this kind of research that was going on. And when meme has such influence on people, on the behavior of people, the philosophical aspect was much missing. And when I'm saying the philosophical aspect was such missing, I'm more interested into having a comprehensive and inclusive ground to understand memes. And that's why the right side you can see the metaphysics of meme categorically ignored. And that's how I see that the significance of metaphysics of memes, at least in the understanding memes, is very important. And that's how I categorize this particular talk in order to answer three particular questions. So the talk, we can say that it is divided in three parts. And I'm trying to provide at least one flexible answer to all these three questions. The first question that I'm going to deal is, what do we need to ask in order to provide a comprehensive and inclusive understanding of metaphysics of meme? So if we are going to talk about metaphysics of meme, we first need to know what are the questions that we are going to ask. What is the metaphysical ground even in order to understand meme? The second question, what are the changes in theoretical understanding of digital memes since its first appearance in academic literature, and whether there are any changes in its ontological structure? So once we have metaphysical ground, then we can start understanding what are memes and what is the structure of memes. And the third, that is the quite significant question, if memes have any impacts on human, what are these? And that's how that's how we can see the significance of the first example that I gave in the beginning of the talk. Because this is the first presentation of the metaphysics of meme, my intention is to generate certain question in your mind rather than just providing a ready to hand answer. So just keep this thing in mind. So in order to understand what we are going to ask in metaphysics of memes, we are going to take help these tall figures that actually shaped the understanding of metaphysics in this era. I'm not going to talk about the metaphysical aspects of Aristotle, Quine, Heidegger, or Marcus Gabriel, but how they start engaging with metaphysics. The first systematic understanding that we see about metaphysics comes from Aristotle's Metaphysica. And there he mentioned metaphysics as a science that studies being qua being. And if we start analyzing this particular understanding, the intention that we see about Aristotle is uh, quite clear, that we need to understand being in terms of being rather than moving our question into something other question, which we will see that how that particular question got translated into other question, say Quine, Heidegger, or Marcus Gabriel. So in order to understand metaphysics in more accommodative and inclusive sense, we need to first ask the question of what, and what has also n numbers of questions, but we are just going to focus on what question, and that has become quite significant. And the moment we come down to Quine in his article on what there is, he asks a very simple question: what there is. And if you consider there is as existence, and if you allow me to use there is or existence loosely in relation to being, what is being? The Quine's answer is quite simply. Quite simple. Everything. If you ask what is there and you say that everything, not only you are providing an answer, an easy answer, but you are also allowing the possibility to talk about anything. But here, instead of going into what's the solution or what's the understanding of this particular question, this question becomes quite significant. If I'm going to ask the question, what is being or what is there, can we really answer this question, what is there, without placing this question under certain relative sense? Coin has a significant way of doing it. So instead of asking the question, what is there, we need to ask the question, what is there in relation to a theory? And unless until we do not have a theory, we really do not have a way to answer this particular question. So that's how Coin changes the question. So that becomes our second ways of understanding metaphysics. Similarly, Heidegger, for Heidegger, the appearance of being is quite insignificant, and how a being himself or itself or herself explains how it appears. So the question that earlier was in terms of what, here in Heidegger it becomes how. How does being appear in the world? And that's how Heidegger is more interested in answering the question of how rather than what. And the more as we move into Marcus Gabriel has a particular definition of existence. In order to exist something, they need to appear in the field of sense. And the question here will be significant, where an object can appear in order to exist. And in order to understand that, the question of where becomes quite significant. So if we have to understand metaphysics of memes in quite inclusive and accommodative sense, we need to ask these four questions, at least these questions in terms of these four ways of formulation. So let's come back to our question. What are we asking when we ask what is meme? This is particularly meta meme. In this ways of phrasing the question, I am trying to figure it out the demands of me rather than asking or explaining anything about me. If we are going to ask this particular question, what are the demands? And in order to understand the demands, again, we need to go back to the ways that the four philosophers have explained. And those four ways of explaining and asking question comes under domain of metaphysics of me. So in order to understand metaphysics of me broadly in most inclusive and accommodative sense, we need to ask four questions in four different ways. And these are the four different ways. What is a meme or what constitutes a meme? This is a one way of understanding meme. That there are two ways to understand what is a meme. One can be a etymological and historiographical understanding of meme. We can see how the concept of meme has been generated since its first emergence in academic literature. And the another thing is that by looking at, let's say that at this moment, at digital memes, what are the significant things that we can talk about? And then can we create a meme with those aspects, with those constituents or not? So that's the first question, which will be very significant. The second, how does a meme appear or how does a meme function? These are the two questions. The second question, the or question, how does a meme function, may also refer to the fourth question, why does a meme appear? What purpose does it serve? So if meme is appearing at what place, at a certain place, and again, at a certain place has a close relation with the where question. And if a meme is appearing at a certain place, it must have some purpose to serve. And if that purpose is not there, there is no reason for a meme to appear in a place. So think about it. If you are in a philosophy class and philosophy classes are boring and we have to share one meme, what should it be? So it has a purpose to serve, like if I have to share a meme in a philosophy class. So the second question becomes quite significant. How does a meme appear, which has a direct connection with where and why question? So it may appear and there may be a tendency to pinpoint one question as the central question and then think about other question and running around the central question. Most of the time it has happened that we have placed what is a meme as a central question and we think all these three questions as a subsidiary or auxiliary question to what question. Uh, my submission would be, instead of thinking any question as a central question, we need to think about how these two question or three question uh, interact with each other, and how they can help us understand meme in a broader and inclusive sense. Again, please note that I'm more interested in knowing meme in a more accommodative and inclusive sense, so we can have a better understanding to interpret the human behavior, ethical sense of artificial intelligence, or the other aspects of emerging realities. So once we have settled down these three questions, let's go back to the second aspect. After creating the metaphysical ground for metaphysics of memes, we can now move to the second question, which is about what is meme. So here I present a very brief history of memes. So I have particularly picked six uh, thinkers in order to explain memes. The first time memes emerges in Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, and there was no rational ground for calling something what he wanted to explain in order to understand culture as meme. It was more like emotional terminology. He wanted to have something, one terminology that should rhyme with gene. And he finally found something in Greek philosophy, my memes, my meme. And from there, he takes the word meme. And according to Richard Dawkins, memes are cultural units of information that is spread from one individual to another in a way that is analogous to ways genes propagate biological traits. In this way, memes are the mediators of cultural evolution. And uh, when they are the mediator of cultural evolution, they are not thinking about people, but how they are going to survive themselves in a particular culture. So that's how he argues that memes are more selfish, which also which also justifies the title of the book, The Selfish Gene. So in short, we can say that they are inherently selfish and virulent, competing to infect individual minds and use those minds as vehicle for replication. And D. Hofstadter is going to just extend this understanding into more understanding in terms of mutation and variation. When we have means that can work as a means to transfer one information from one individual to another, there will be many other means. There may be many other replicators of the information. And if there are many other information and replicators, why we are going to stick one than the other? And if that's the case, there must be some variation. In order to survive, meme needs to have certain variation, and they have to pick one. They have to select one in order to survive. Why? Because they are selfish after all. So, in from that perspective, various mutation of a meme will have to compete with one another, as well as with other memes for brain resources in terms of both space and time devoted to that meme. By this understanding, by this time period, meme was categorically dependent on genes. Like in order to survive genes, they need to have some biological body. For memes, in order to survive, they have to have their genes. But when G. Berman was writing in The Misunderstanding of Meme Biography of an Scientific Object, he said that by 1995, the meme has become active and non-metaphorical. So earlier we were just trying to understand meme in terms of gene. Now we really do not need to understand meme in terms of gene. They have become active. They have their own ontological status. They have their own ontological reality, and they themselves do not need any gene in order to propagate. Means earlier they need to have human brain, and with the help of human brain they were propagating. Now they don't need a human brain. They can just simply work as an institution. Like for example, uh, language can be a meme, games can be a meme, even education can be a meme, and that's how meme can work without even having a brain. The further understanding where mimetic sense comes in, when L explains memes historically rely on epidemiological model. Means something to become a meme, it has to have uh, uh, emulative sense. Something has to be imitated, and if it's not imitated, we just simply cannot consider mime. And here, one thing that needs to be noted, that imitation is at the central of memes, at least in the cultural aspect. And when it comes to digital meme, this imitation becomes in the notion of virality. And if one has to check whether a meme has viral or not, it has to undergo with mimetic examination. So for that example, something would be considered as a topmost meme if it is shared the most. And when we consider it is shared the most, it means that it has been imitated by most of the people. And now you can see that, from the beginning, since the beginning of the understanding of memes, the meme is changing its whereabouts. First, earlier it was on the brain. Second, it has its own independence, and then it is finding another way, another whereabout. So as will be moving into digital world, we will find that memes has its own ontological status in a digital world. And the kind of evolution that we are seeing about meme here, Richard Dawkins has to change its understanding about meme. In 2013, he reformulates his position and says that the very idea of the meme has itself mutated and evolved in a new direction. An internet meme is a hijacking of the original idea. Instead of mutation by random chance, internet memes are altered deliberately by human creativity. And now, the one point that has become significant here, that earlier memes were propagated by the brains, by other institution, by society. Now here, any human person can make a meme, create it. So this is the one understanding that we need to see. Are the current characteristics in,
No, no.
in cultural memes? These were the characteristics, cultural units of information that are called replicators. They were subject to variation, and because they were variation, they were subject to selection. And because of its particular characteristics of memorable units, they were imitated. They were reliable and creative, and having the characteristics of being creative. And they were the hidden cause of all the changes that you can see the culture. And because of this particular aspect, most of the theorists believe that they can understand the entire culture. And the changes that you see in digital meme, an internet meme is a piece of culture, typically a joke. And that also explains why laughing emoticon is the highest shared emoticon in the last decade. So an internet meme is a piece of culture, typically a joke, which gains influence through online transmission. And with the internet meme, the four new aspect that has come, it, it spreads like anything. It has the highest number of distribution. The speed of transmission is quite significant. Any meme can become, any content of a meme can become viral in no time. And because of its ambiguity, they are subject to interpretation. So you can see that each meme may have n numbers of interpretation, n numbers of variation. Why? Because there is an ambiguity in the spirit of meme. So as we will be moving on, you will be understanding what does spirit of meme means and other things. With the background that I explained earlier in the last slide and the uh, last to next slide, we can come down to three hypotheses of meme. The first, when we were talking about the early understanding of memes, memes can be considered as slave to genes that build the brain, which copies them and proliferates them. And here, memes needed brain in order to survive. The second, memes serves as their own ends, replicating whatever they can. They sculpt our minds and culture as they wish to do. And how they sculpt our mind, because earlier they were based on genes, and genes are responsible for sculpting our brains, and brains are the main the aspect that interacts with the culture. And then, in order to survive, memes is directly responsible of sculpting our mind and cultures at a wish to do. The third hypothesis, memes depends on the creativity of a human and the understanding of digital environment around. So here, the existence of meme is categorically depend on the digital world rather than now humans or brain or papers or book or anything. So in digital world, memes are categorically dependent on the digital world. And if we try to answer the where question here, the first one, the answer to the where question would be the brain, the second, independent, the third in the digital world. So that's how we can also answer the where question. So if you see, this particular is to define what question, and this is to define where question. And this is the structure that I'm going to talk about it, that also explain how. So if you understand meme as information, I mean, that has been circulated from one person to another, this is also called replicator. And this is just simple information. Let's say that one can understand there was a cricket match going on back against, I mean, Pakistan versus South Africa, and Pakistan is normally, known for bad fielding, and they just dropped a catch of a significant batsman, and there was a person in the audience, and he was so disappointed that his face of disappointment became a meme. And with that meme, that we can say that the information there will be the face of disappointment. And then now you can add anything on that particular face. What I'm calling this the ontological ornamentation. Ontological ornamentation means that any person is free to add, subtract on the information that is there. And why? I mean, that's the one question that we need to deal, even the ontological ornamentation. So it can actually direct it to one kind of community that is needed. So let's say that if we have to show the disappointment in a philosophy class, the why, the purpose of this particular kind of transmission of a meme is to show disappointment in philosophy class, and you just need to add something on that particular information. And ontological ornamentation can go on for like anything. You can make a video, you can make a short clip, you can also make a gif, and other way that can also help us understand how, because the information, the disappointment is a very ambiguous term, and because of this ambiguous thing, we have n numbers of possibilities in ontological ornamentation. And because of n numbers of possibilities of ontological ornamentation, we have also n numbers of interpretation. And because of n numbers of interpretation, there are numbers of variation. So if you just Google on any kind of meme, you will find n numbers of meme just having one kind of information. So in that way, we can create the entire structure of a meme. But if we just simply create a one kind of a structure of a meme, any kind of meme, how does something become ontological efficient? How does any meme gets efficacy? And this has the answer to the question of where. Earlier, when we were young, I mean, when I was a child, not young, when I was a child back there, in order for a meme to become viral, we needed to use papers, we needed to inform people. So their efficacy was categorically dependent on the question of where I am going to place my meme. So similarly, if here in a philosophy discussion, if I start sharing memes of, let's say that a cricket match, most of its efficacy will be lost. So for a meme to be ontologically efficacious, it needs to be directed to a particular group. And that can be seen like in any kind of social media. For a particular post to be viral, we earlier used to put certain hashtags, and that hashtag creates a particular kind of community. So if you are interested in, let's say that travel memes, you just need to put hashtag travel, so your memes will be directed to those community, and then it may have virality. So ontological efficacy has direct connected with the questions of where, and that's why I have mentioned there in the slide mind papers and virtual world. The moment a beam enters into a digital world, it has n numbers of possibility. It can go on to the n number possibility. So this is one kind of a structure of a meme. I mean, obviously there are certain aspects that I have intentionally left out. I mean, just to keep this discussion simple. On the other side, human beings, why we are consuming one kind of meme and how. So how again is directly related to the question of where, how human beings are directly engaging with one kind of meme, and we can have answer to this particular question in terms of social media, in terms of let's say that we are also watching a lot of things in Netflix that comes as a memorable unit in our mind, and then we are going to use it into memes, and that's another perspective. But the significant point here is how human beings are going to engage with a particular meme, and there comes the structuration, how human beings and memes collectively create a structure of a society that will definitely turn into a digital world if we are going to talk about a digital meme. And if we are going to talk about a cultural meme, how human beings and memes can collectively create a kind of culture. And in order to understand structuration, we are going to take help of Anthony Giddens' structuration theory. Anthony Giddens' structuration theory categorically talks about how larger social structure and agency or human beings come together in any kind of relationship. Most of the times we understand that society structures are just there in isolation. Anthony Giddens is more interested in how to bridge that dichotomy. And there are three aspects that we need to understand. The first one is the larger social structure is both the medium and outcome of the social practices. So if we are going to use the mean, we need those structure. And by using it again and again, we are again creating the new kind of social practices. So let's say that if there was a society, if we just go back to our same example of Rajasthan, there was earlier the same society. There were hatred, maybe there might be certain killings. There were there, but the kind of memes that have been circulated in that particular area, directed to a particular why, we finally know that the outcome was, in a larger aspect, it was the consequence of the certain circulation of those kind of memes. So, in a larger level, the society structure not only is the medium but also the consequence of the same social practices. The second aspect is, though we normally consider we are free, but we are highly influenced by the larger social structure. So, if I ask that, and that's the question that I normally ask, why do I like a kind of food that I eat and I do not like any other kind of food? Let's say that Japanese food, because the larger social structure has a huge influence by giving me certain aspects. And here, Ian Pavlov's understanding is quite relevant in terms of mm, we are going to use certain positive reinforcement and certain negative reinforcement. In the case of Rajasthan example, we have been negatively reinforced to eat beef. But if it would have been case, let's say that in USA, it may have been a positively reinforced by providing beef in a cheaper price. The third aspect is the rules and resources. Each social structure may have rules, but who will decide the rules? That will be the important question. And resources. So each larger social structures may have resources, and the structuration depends on the interplay of first, second, and third aspect. So it may happen that the first and three becomes quite powerful. To the second, the agency might not be free as we normally imagine. So we are going to see how it will be implemented in a digital world. So that's how we will be moving to the third aspect. And here, what I consider the Dennett's conundrum. Though normally, as Anthony Giddens uh, demonstrates that we are free agent, Daniel Dennett has a different understanding. I do not know about you, but I am not initially attracted by the idea of my brain as a sort of dung heap in which the larvae of other people's ideas renew themselves before sending out the copies of themselves in an informational diaspora. And while we are reading this particular statement, we need to understand the culture meme. So Daniel Dennett is referring to culture memes. It seems at first to rob my mind of its importance as an author and a critic. Who is in charge according to this vision? We or me? So the kind of possibility and the kind of home Anthony Giddens wants to show to us that at least we are free, Daniel Sitanes categorically nullifies the entire possibility. He says that it looks important. And when Daniel C. Dennett is writing this particular statement, he is giving a universal sense. Even we know that most of the times we are not free, but it doesn't feel intuitive that we need to believe that. We almost think that we are free, at least in some way or the other way. And if you read South, and South, the famous example that if someone is putting a gun on you and ask you to do that, and normally we consider that there is no freedom there, but South will say that you are free to be killed. So that's kind of possibility if you are going to imagine. Yet, Anthony Giddens' option, the agent is free, might be relevant. But if you start seeing from Daniel C. Dennis' perspective, we are not free. And the relevant question that he's going to ask is who is in charge of our entire imitation? we or our meme. And here you can see with this particular meme, I love having free will, and then someone else is putting this thought to us. While we are talking so much about freedom, goodness, love, constitution, nationalism, all those ideas ours. And if you go back to Indian uh, freedom struggle, when Mahatma Gandhi was writing a book, Hind Swaraj, in English translation, he categorically mentioned this point that though whatever I'm writing is mine, but categorically it's not mine. My thoughts was taken a lot from historians and especially Tolstoy. So when we are going to talk about our thoughts, our emotion, our freedom, it's not exactly ours, and it actually presents Dennis' point of view quite emphatically. Further, when Dennett had to suggest how our consciousness is shaped by our culture, he says that uh, memes play a crucial role in shaping our consciousness. And here we also need to understand that when Dennett is talking about, he's talking about the cultural memes, not the digital memes. And as we internalize memes, they influence our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors, effectively constituting the framework of our minds. And when we are talking about internalization, we also need to think about it whether in the internalization, the process of internalization, do we have any possibility to reflect and reanalyze? And here I want to present you one historical understanding of digital content available in digital world. If you remember back in 2014, most of the videos, most of the uh, video content were of 60 minutes, and then it got reduced to 30, then it got reduced to 12. And now the recent research shows that our attention level in any kind of meme world is only 8 seconds. So most of the memes which are popular now are either in the form of picture or in the form of GIF or even less than 8 seconds. So if you have that much time, let's say that less than 8 seconds, do you have enough time to analyze those thoughts? And because you don't have that enough time to analyze those thoughts, you normally internalize. And in this way, our consciousness is not just a product of biological process, but also a complex interplay of the means we have acquired throughout our lives. This perspective emphasizes the power of cultural transmission informing who we are. And again, if we go back, you can see how it is happening. The process that here you will see the structure of mean and human beings are involved only for 8 seconds or less than 8 seconds. In those 8 seconds, if the necessary and sufficient condition is just to imitate, we normally do not have much time to think, analyze, reflect. And because there is no time to reflect, most of the time what we are doing is unreflected ways of doing. So again, let's understand that who is in charge. So Shana Jabaf, in her book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, says that it is no longer enough to automate information flows about us. The goal now is to automate us. So if you watch anything on Netflix, there are two important shows there. The first is Social Dilemma, and there she talks about. I mean, Sujana Jabaf is also one of the person involved in order to provide a broader understanding of how it works. She explicitly explains that most of the digital world and our interaction with them are in such a way that we hardly have any choices in order to choose. The moment you think about, let's say that to buy a product, let's say that a phone, there will be n numbers of possibilities. They will start showing you all those n number of possibilities. But again, the one who pays a lot, you will again see that product again and again. And if you are going to see that product again and again, and let's say that in terms of memes or in terms of uh, the salted form of video clip, you are more involved in those things. So earlier, they were thinking us as a coal mine where we were as a coal. Now they are not just considering us as a mine where they can mine our data, but now they also want to automate our own behavior, which was also again, if we go back to the same example of Rajasthan, uh, the behavior was just the consequences of all those means. So if we are going to have all those things, if you are going to have all those information in such a flow, and we have less time to reflect, our first intention is just to follow the same kind of behavior. And another so that I want to refer here is how to become a tyrant. If you are in a particular kind of community, let's say that netizens, and you belong to a one kind of focused group, you want to be in the team. So if any kind of meme, any kind of information comes, and it is a particular kind of behavior is expected out of that information, you want to be in the team. You want to imitate as much as you can. And if that's the point, and you even if you start understanding the entire process, what happens? And here there is another example. Imagine you have a hammer. That's machine learning. It helps you climb a grueling mountain to reach the summit, and that's machine learning dominance of online data. On the mountain top, you find a vast pile of nails, cheaper than anything previously imaginable. And that's the new smart sensor tech. An unbroken vista of virgin bore stretches before you as far as you can see. That's the whole dumb world. Then you can learn that anytime you plant a nail in the board with your machine learning hammer, you can extract value from the formerly dumb plank. That's data monetization. What do? You start hammering like crazy and you never stop unless somebody makes you stop. But there is nobody up here to make us stop. This is why the internet of everything is inevitable. And that's why you will see that there is a huge craze of digitalizing everything. Because if everything is there, the people who owns those where feeds, let's say that for a digital world, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if something is owned by one person and everything is available there, and your interest somehow find one corner of those where field, you are going to provide all the information, and that's what they need. They can simply direct your behavior in one part of and they can simply direct your behavior in one part of the corner where they want to promote. So let's say that in one way, you want to go to India. And in order to go to India, you start searching what are the places that you need to go in India. And then you find a blog. They suggest you certain places, where to go, where to eat, all those things. And in order to be in a positive side and a safer side, what do you choose? You try to follow the entire process. Though there is a possibility, but again, the negative reinforcement of a particular place. So that's how they are going to promote. So if memes are there and they are in digital world, and digital worlds are not owned by us and they are owned by other people, they are going to automate our behavior. In that sense, if we are just going to imitate meme, that's what we become. We become what we imitate. And that's how we come to the final version. You are what you mean. And with this particular conclusion, I leave you with one of the most significant questions. To meme or not to meme? And that's the question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you very much for this inspired talk. Thank you, really. It's such a rich presentation with approaches and aspects. Thank you so much. I would like to ask the audience to ask comments to your talk. Thank you for your participation also. You can raise your hand. Yeah, I would like to start with a question.
Yeah,
Prashant. You approached the question of memes, the metaphysics of memes, by through the aspects of historiography, existentialism, phenomenology, information theory, the science, evolution, so many different things, and also all this idea of mutation. Interesting. As you presented the whole question of me, for me, there is a very interesting reference to Michel Serres' idea of the parasitic life. So
I cannot hear you properly, Professor.
he believes that
I think there is a problem in internet connection, Professor. I cannot hear your question.
Okay, there seems to be an issue. Maybe someone else would like to take it from here and ask a question, and maybe Professor Stamatellos can join later.
Okay, yes, let's proceed. Perhaps there's an issue with the sound.
Yeah.
I can see the hands of Zaya Ray. Can you hear me? Or Peter would like to join us?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, please.
Yeah, yeah, hello everyone. And Dr. Prashant, I just wanted to get one clarification because I am not very, aware in this particular area. I'm not well informed, but what I can gather that if I'm talking about not only here about the internet meme, but also about the cultural memes also, which you mentioned. That if there is you said that there is an ambiguity part because it can be interpreted in different ways because there is a lot of mutation, in cultural meme also. So if it, then what about the information part? Because in your chart you kept that, how it works, that it is informative also. So if it can be interpreted in whatever way possible and it is ambiguous, then can the information which was originally there in a particular meme, that will not stay. So can it, in what sense then it will be informative? I just wanted to know this.
So information is the part that meme carries.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the one part that is going to be intact for any kind of uh, perpetuation. So the information part is going to be carried. The ambiguous part is in ways how we are going to express. So when it comes to the cultural norms, there were not various ways of expressing. So
Okay.
if a particular information is going to be transferred from one mind to another mind, the information is going to be same. But how one mind is going to present it, this part will be ambiguous in any kind of memes.
Can you
So
just give an example to
uh,
explain it?
so let's say that if we say that, like in Indian philosophy, we have this saying, ekam satyam vipra bahuda vadanti. Right?
Mm.
The truth is one, but it can be said in various ways. All right. And up now consider if it can be said in various ways, and now I just put aesthetics in there, sir. Because so I can say it can be represented in many ways, at least in a pictorial form. And when I say that it can be represented in various ways in pictorial form, all those pictures carrying the same meaning can be interpreted in various ways. So the moment I put it in an aesthetic sense, the same information gets represented in a static sense, and those static sense can be interpreted in various ways. The second part is very ambiguous in memes, and that's why in digital memes particularly, you can say that the same spirit of meme is there, but they can add anything. So let's say that the same picture will be there, but they will be adding certain other contents. This is what I call ontologically ornamentation.
So that means the original information will be there, only it will be added with different type of presentation.
Exactly, sir. So the original information is going to be imitated, and because of original information is being imitated, thus the virality.
But don't you think that in the process of different, various imitation, the original information will get lost?
Maybe, but then it will
Uh,
become another kind of meme. And because memes, as I mentioned earlier, memes are selfish. So in order to preserve themselves, they may change the entire the information. But then that meme will be categorically different. And here we are going to talk about, different kinds of meme, and then here we are more interested in the content of meme. So the moment we change the information, the content, the entire
content will be changed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Thank you, Prashant, for your response. And there is Peter, I think, has raised a hand.
Oh, hello there. So,
Hello.
thanks for the talk and all that. I suppose my thoughts are that, in essence, I have spread memes around the place. So, in essence, if I find any quote that I think is interesting, it's an interesting idea on the internet, then I might meme it. So in essence, I think it's interesting, or I think it might be challenging, or I think it might have some sort of meaning. Therefore, I circulate it.
Yes.
So in sort of respect to my audience, or it might be a cartoon that actually expresses a point, an opinion that I agree with, or maybe I don't actually agree with it, but I think it's interesting. So it's satire in a sense. So that's sort of how I interact with memes. The issue I have with the Dawkins view is that it seems to strip away the idea of agency, strips away the idea that you actually have opinions, that it has meaning. That, I mean, we know that obviously opinion is controlled, manipulated as well by various powers in the world and all that type of stuff. But in terms of the basic idea in respect to it, there is the basic thought that we need to be careful in not dismissing human opinion and human free will and human choice, so that when you actually sort of have an opinion, it's a tricky thing that powers want to say, well, actually, it doesn't really matter what the people think, what they're saying. So in some ways, the meme of the meme is actually quite harmful in the sense that it seems to be saying, well, it's just biological, or it's just nasty or unpleasant, and that it can be dismissed as such. So that's my critique of the overall sort of view, sort of presented. If it makes sense, does that make sense as a critique?
Yes. Thank you so much, Peter, for your question. I think yes, it does, and I really understand. If I really understand your point of view, yes, memes are dangerous, at least to the community, which is supposed to think, critically analyze. But that's the danger that we are going to talk about it in terms of digital world, when we are the consumer of all kinds of memes, and our attention span has been reduced to 8 seconds. And if we are just given by that second, and we are like consuming memes all the time, I think the kind of reflection and the analytical skill that we need to have might be lost somewhere. And because there is also a tendency of understanding everything in a scientific point of view, which in turns to understand the cause. And the moment we are going to start understanding everything from scientific point of view, we are not leaving a space for freedom of will, or even like freedom to think, freedom to have our own opinion. And if memes are going to take place in order to express ourselves, like you can see that, I mean, I can give you one example. In 1994, when American sitcom, which is quite famous, Friends, started, there was a one crucial thing that they did. So like if you are tired and you come back, you just open your TV and start watching one season of Friends, and there is a moment of laughter, they will say you, I mean, not openly or directly, but when there is a moment of laughter, even you don't need to laugh. I mean, the background will be laughing for you. So what they are trying to do, so everything that we want to express, everything that we want to feel, now they have given at least one tool or the other. So in case if you want to respond to one of your WhatsApp messages that you are happy, instead of writing I am happy, you have an emoticon. And that emoticon will serve the purpose of your expression. So what they are trying to do, the digital world is trying to do to us, they have robbed us our feeling, they have robbed us our expression, and the next version, with the help of meme, they are going to rob our thinking. And that was the main conundrum of Daniel Dennett. So if by the current understanding of meme and how it functions, yes, this is a threat, but at the same time, that's how we are becoming. I hope in some sense, Peter, I have answered your question.
I think overall, I actually agree with your critique of the overall picture in respect to state actors and media organizations which have a purpose, either marketing or controlling people. So that's clear. In respect to memes, I think they can be both good and bad, in the sense that it is expressing an opinion, or at least in terms of the stuff I circulate, it expresses an opinion. And therefore, like any cartoon or image, it can serve a good purpose, or at least a purpose in terms of prompting thought,
Yes,
as well as a bad purpose. So they're not necessarily bad. And also, the idea that it's purely imitative isn't correct, in the sense that when I sort of send out a meme, I actually think about it, in the sense it expresses something interesting or important that I want to actually circulate. So it can be a good thing, but like all information and all forms of power, it can be misused and twisted, I'd say.
In one sense, yes, it may have another aspect as well. There can be memes who can be thought-provoking. There can be memes who have a positive information to reflect. But the basic and necessary understanding of meme is to imitate. Even if there is a thought-provoking thought, but what they are asking us to do, to just meme, to just imitate. So even that critique of, let's say, that any negative opinion, they are asking us to just imitate that particular aspect. So from that angle, I think that meme may have a negative aspect. And right now, our attention span is 8 seconds, and in a longer run, it is going to be reduced. So if you ask the younger generation, the Gen Zs that they are commonly known as now, they are more interested in GIF and image-based memes rather than videographic memes, because their time spent is much more higher than. And that you can also see, even when I teach my students, this is quite visible in the classroom. The moment I cross 10 or 15 seconds, I just need to again pull back their attention because they are losing it. So even if memes are there and they are provoking our thoughts and even they are provoking our emotions, or let's say that in a more reasonable ways of emotions, the ultimate thing that they are going to ask is to imitate. Are we really ready to imitate even a critique? Then again, I think that we are losing our analytical and critical. So that's where I think that the entire thing is problematic.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your question. Actually, we have run out of time, but if
I'm really
the
sorry,
question,
30 minutes, I guess.
okay, no worries. If there is one more question, I think so, and let's try to give the opportunity if there is one more question to be expressed from Sahil, I think so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yanis. Thanks, Dr. Prashant. That was really fascinating. I'm really interested in the last point or the conclusion of your presentation. I'm really keen on trying to just grasp this problem because a lot of philosophers, I'm mainly interested in continental philosophy, and there's Bernard Stiegler in science and technology studies, there's Wendy Chun. They all talk about this problem of the digital eliminating the critical. As in critical thought, there's no space or time for critical thought to happen, precisely because the digital acts at a speed and pace which doesn't match with, say, social systems and political systems to realign along with the speed of technology. So and I'm interested in technology studies. So from that perspective, coming back to your final conclusion of the meme literally taking, is it 8 seconds or 1 second? I'm not clear, but a very short time and working on us or our psyche through something like a picture thinking, and I'm here, I return to Hegel's critique of picture thinking. Hegel was completely, antithetical to representative thinking, picture thinking, and was very, very much clear that what one needs to do is to arrive at the concept, the concept being central to his framework. And so I'm just wondering, are you proposing that the entire digital landscape is reduced to this picture thinking, or is there space for enabling, like, is there a rescuing of the digital also possible? Can it only be this landscape of representation and picture thinking, or has it another potential? Can it open up virtual worlds of not just surveillance capitalism, but the ambiguous other side, the ambivalent other side of possibility? So I'll stop there. Thank you so much for your talk.
Thank you so much, Sahil, for the question. So let me talk in two aspects about this particular question. When we are talking about Web 2.0, currently the kind of internet we are using right now, for that thing, we can always say that, yes, there are other means available in order to express ourselves. And when I was talking about memes, why I'm saying that the domain of meme is spreading. Right now, it's not having reached to its, let's say, the ultimate level, but maybe if we are not moving from Web 2.0 to 3.0, and the main difference between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 is going to be one being centralized and one being decentralized. So in this Web 2.0, when we have having almost thing, we can say that in order to express our opinion in a larger aspect, we are going to use some digital, let's say, the platform. For that, we can say that we have X, Instagram, Facebook, and then we can think about it, who owns that field. And the moment we say that these people own that field. I mean, in Indian election, you have seen that there were many objections of certain political leaders. They were saying that their reach has been reduced. And suppose if you want to propagate your channel, or let's say that any event, you pay to the particular company and they will start opening their algorithm to many people. So what is happening? Even let's say that there are other means of label. First, they are reducing into the mimetic proposition. And second, if you are not going to follow that, they are again going to put a lot of negative reinforcements. Like if you want to if you want to belong to that particular category, then you need to pay something. And that's why I mentioned Ian Pavlov's negative reinforcement, a famous example of dog and positive reinforcement. So even digital media, let's say that you are writing wonderfully about a particular concept and the idea is completely beautiful. But what you see, there will be certain people, you will not get any like or any share, let's say that, and even the comments will be very heinous. And if those things are going to be, this is quite, I mean, let's say that not motivational. So maybe you will write once, you will write again, you will write again. But if same happens, those means will become, I mean, those means available to express ourselves will become quite, let's say, the antidotes for certain aspects. So even there are means of label, they are reducing your thing. They are pushing you go back to the mimetic understanding. And hence, maybe that's how memes are going to create their own digital culture. So if you understand Anthony Giddens' first point, they are product, but at the same time, they are also the medium. So not only memes are predicting certain kinds of behavior, but they are also creating the entire digital culture. So maybe if I'll go to my classroom and I start asking questions to my students, they're more interested. They say that, so you know that now the Delhi University syllabus has changed. So you need to do a lot of things. Like you need to teach wax set papers, and there are so much practical steps. They're more happy to make a reel out of that rather than reading a book. So you see the transition that we are moving into, the kind of digital culture we are going. In Web 3.0, maybe there's a possibility that if it becomes decentralized, then, but no one knows right now. So I cannot say anything on Web 3.0. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Kumar. Thank you, Prashant, for this very interesting talk that make us really to think memes, not just in this digital sense, but also in terms of mutation, transformation, information theory, and all the different aspects that we discussed today. It appears to be much more rich, the conception of memes as we considered, less innocent, as we can say, with many different aspects. And thank you for bringing us this awareness of understanding memes in its wider scope and context, and consider it with a more skeptical sense as appearing in our digital age. Thank you so much for your talk. Thank you everyone for your participation. And we are looking forward to see you in our next IPT event, our next IPT talk. And have a great evening from Athens.
Thank you so much, Professor Giannis, and thank you so much, Phaedra, for helping me in all the aspects. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Good night, Professor.
Bye.